you know anything about Rocket League and Rocket League esports, there's probably one name you've heard about more than anybody else's name, and that name is Kronovi. Well, actually, it used to be Kronovi, and today I would actually say the name that is synonymous with Rocket League is no longer the Mountain, but this guy, Squishy Muffinz. But if you're new to this game, you may not know the whole story of how this random former PS4 player went from nothing to literally taking over the entire scene as the biggest streamer, pro player, and one of the biggest YouTubers. It all started back in 2013 with this wonderful Skate 3 video called Skate 3 New Super Jump Glitch Tutorial Description Tutorial Link HD. Just kidding. It really took off for him in about the spring of 2016, which was exactly the time that I actually started playing Rocket League and really started watching players on YouTube and people making tutorials. And Squishy Muffinz was really the person I watched. Like, his gameplay was basically the only content that I watched. And this was when he started posting his Road to Grand Champ series, and especially episode 3, where he decided to use a mic and actually talk over his gameplay. And even at this time, Squishy just seemed to have a knack for mastering high-level mechanics in a really short amount of time, and even pioneering new methods to the game. I remember just being amazed at his ability to quickly turn and hit power shots in Car Camp, for example. Just the way he dribbled, or even just hit power shots in general. This is just one example of how impressive and really advanced he was at that time, but there was a sense in which we weren't seeing a lot of other pro players' gameplay consistently the way that we were watching his. Now remember, at this point, going into the summer and fall of 2016, Squishy was not a pro player. He hadn't been picked up by an org or anything. He was just putting out content and, competing in ranked and also playing in tournaments. But through this summer, there was beginning to be quite a large group of, I guess we could call them fanboys, who watched competitive Rocket League and who really thought, or at least wondered, is Squishy good enough to be successful as a pro player? There was already an established pro scene full of players from the prequel to Rocket League. I mean, like, basically all of the players competing at the highest level at this time were SARP players. So Squishy's story is kind of different than a lot of pro esports players. A lot of people start out as, pro players. Like, they sort of get recognized for how good they are because they're competing, and they jump into the pro scene, and then they start putting out content and maybe streaming. But in his case, he actually started out as a content creator. Like, he really started out just putting out content, but the level of gameplay was so high that people really did wonder whether he was good enough, because sometimes he would queue up against these people in ranked, like some of the best players in the world, and quite often he would beat them. And his gameplay in general often looked just better than theirs. Plus, he was putting out montages highlighting, unbelievable goals for that time. But he wasn't able to compete in RLCS Season 1 with the team, and as many of you know, IBP won that first major tournament, and also Flipside won Season 2 of the RLCS Finals. So November 20th rolled around, and the team formerly known as Iris formed with Squishy Muffinz, and the team was basically Squishy, Torment, and Lachinio, with Gimmick as their sub. Now, they were incredibly dominant in the offseason going into Season 3 of RLCS, beating every major RLCS team from the previous season, but they kind of choked in Season 3, losing really early in the open qualifiers. But this wasn't the end of the road for Squishy.
And next time around, I promise I will make it. It's just, man, it's so upsetting. I'm more mad at the fact that you guys won't be able to watch me, and the people who believe that make LAN, and I can't even make it to the league. It's just like, because I know we're a great team, and I know we can do great things. We just gotta get more consistent and get up there again.
Team Iris disbanded in May of 2017, and Squishy created his own team with Torment and Gimmick, who was the sub at the time. And they made their first live appearance with Squishy's actual face reveal at DreamHack Atlanta in 2017. Now, this was really the start of Squishy and his team's reign, I guess you could say, of them really proving that they were capable of beating the best teams in the world under the biggest amount of pressure, because they won series after series versus all of the major teams in the LAN environment, really just proving that they belonged at this level. And ultimately, they beat the most dominant team in the world at that time, which was Gale Force, later Dignitas. And that was just an astounding final series. I remember watching the DreamHack Atlanta finals, and it was just so unbelievable to watch them actually win it. So enter Cloud9 into the Rocket League scene to come and pick up the Muffin Men and really the ever-growing brand that is Squishy Muffinz. Now, at this point, Squishy is not only uploading on YouTube consistently, but he's also streaming and really becoming the biggest streamer that Rocket League has really ever seen. seen, at least in terms of consistent streamers. It was basically this time, August of 2017, when Squishy's YouTube and Twitch really started blowing up, as he was proving to the wider Rocket League audience that he really was the best in the world. It was no longer just this thing of, well, is Squishy the best? And people would just be like, dude, Squishy sucks. He's not actually that good. You're just a fanboy. You just watch his YouTube videos. Now he was really proving that he was one of the best. So seasons 4 and 5 were successful Rocket League seasons by anyone's measure, with Cloud9 taking 3rd and then 4th, and really some incredible performances outside of RLCS in other major tournaments as well. But getting to hold that trophy is really what every competitive Rocket League player wants, and Squishy was no different. And as most of you know, season 6 was really their time to shine. They were on home turf with this massive fan base in the crowd, and as you probably know, Cloud9 managed to take down the giants of the land.
Why don't you guys pick on somebody who's like your own size, because you walk around like, we're the giants of this land.
Crowning Squishy Muffinz as the biggest, most famous Rocket League player of all time. Sadly, Kronovi isn't the face of this game anymore. Squishy Muffinz is the face of this game, and I know some people may not like it, but that's the way it is. Now, why is this? How did this come about that Squishy Muffinz is basically synonymous with Rocket League? Why not somebody like K-Dop or Scrub Killer or Turbo Pulsa? Why is this the name everyone knows? Well, there's really one simple reason. Obviously, coupled with the fact that he's amazing and he's, dominant, the thing that sets him apart from many of these players is that he's been and continues to be a consistent content creator. Many pro Rocket League players have tried to put out content, and many have tried to stay on top and also stay on top competitively, sort of do those two things at the same time. But he's really one of few who has been able to win a world championship, be, incredibly dominant with his team in many tournaments, and on top of everything, maintain a connection with his fans through Twitch and YouTube. Obviously, he's not the only one who's doing both competitive and content creation, but he's one of the few who's been able to stay at the top in both areas. Esports is just so different from traditional sports in this area. Nobody really cared if Michael Jordan or even people like LeBron, no one cared if they were really putting out content. People just wanted to root for them on the court. But in esports, and Rocket League is really no different, Squishy has been able to share his journey for so long. Like, we've been able to watch him improve in literally every area. And it's okay that many pros don't do this. It's not something that I think every single pro should do, or even most pros. I think of people like Kronovi, for example. He clearly wanted to focus on his game and his career in esports, and he did. And that's fine. I think that's a good decision. But this is the reason Squishy has taken over so many of the OG Rocket League pros in terms of just name recognition, is because he's so consistent with content and consistent in tournaments. So you couple those two things together, and then ultimately winning the world championship, Squishy is the name that will be remembered from this era of Rocket League. And I don't mean this to say that other pros aren't putting out content or that they won't be remembered, because they will. There are pros who are streaming, who are doing YouTube, but honestly, not enough of them are. I feel like a lot of pros just think that Squishy's kind of already taken that spot as the high-level pro player who puts out content. But I mean, if you look at other games, there's plenty of viewership to go around. And if you're like an absolute god at this game, people will want to watch you play it. All the other stuff will just kind of fall into place. Unless you're like a complete ass, and then it probably won't work out too well. I think that one of the problems is that a lot of pros expect to have unbelievable numbers right away. And it really just doesn't work like that. It just takes time. If you look at Squishy's YouTube channel, for example, it took a good chunk of time and lots of videos before he started getting even close to hitting, for example, like 100,000 on a video. So for those of you that are pros, my advice would be to start that journey of putting out content, take people on your journey. And if you really want to be one of those names that's synonymous with Rocket League, this is probably what you'll have to do. I know there's more to it than just this. I know Squishy is also known for being just like a mechanical god, and his gameplay is obviously at another level, and it's really entertaining. You know what I mean? I think that's one of the reasons why people love him so much. But I still think the biggest thing is that he's been able to really hold those two worlds of being a great content creator and being a great player. And there's been other people who've done this. I think of somebody like Lethamir, for example. Look at how fast his YouTube channel has grown. He sort of found his niche, learned what works best, and is able to do both. He's able to compete at the highest level and also put out great content. All right, thanks for watching this one, guys. Keep grinding ranked or whatever you're working at, and we'll see you next time. Peace out.